So without further ado, we're going to ask now our dear colleague, Kent, to come forth with Brad and give us a short overview of their recent expedition and the meaning of this in terms of what we're doing at the Academy with archaeologists, anthropologists, and sociologists throughout the world.
Thank you, Dr. Hurtak. So just as a bit of an introduction, Brad, of course, is one of the co-facilitators in the Adelaide group of the Academy's study group for the Keys of Enoch. And I'm one of the students, of course. And so I think to put this into perspective, what we wanted to show today and to demonstrate to everyone here is that as students of the Keys of Enoch and as part of the greater Academy for Future Science family, we are all connected in some way, and we're all connected on level of being active in our work for the divine and in our understanding of these sacred sites around the world. So our philosophy and our vision, I guess, for what we want to embark on over the next few years is to travel to some of these sacred sites, like in Angkor Wat, and give people a taste of what there is to see there. But as Dr. Hurtak mentioned just before, it's not all about going there and taking photos and going home and showing your friends what nice pictures you took. It's about singing the names of God. It's about sacred study and prayer, and being sacred or active participants in that man-God relationship when we go to these sacred sites. So we'll just give you a quick background as to, I guess, the philosophy of grids as they are depicted in the Keys of Enoch.
So I'm not sure everyone has the Keys of Enoch, but if we can open up to the page 45 of Key 105, we have the contact areas for the Brotherhood of Light, this map, so we have here what we call the major artificial time warp zones, and then we have the natural time warp zones. So the Keys of Enoch here define two different cosmologies of time warps, which has been very, for myself and for other students in the Keys, it's been of great curiosity what even that means, artificial time warps and natural time warps. So I just want to quickly to give an overview from reading from the Keys, from the glossary, as to the meaning of the time warps, just to put this into context. And so in the glossary, and you can open this if you have the Keys, otherwise just listen, under the definition time warps or space-time warps, within the galaxy, the coordination of electrical and magnetic grids connected with electromagnetic geometries around the Earth, and the natural time warp areas on the surface of the planet, a universal space-filling lattice. Natural time warps on the geological mass points of space anomalies forming the dodecahedral energy map of the Earth. And it doesn't mention here, but also the icosahedral geometry. And a magnetic grid system on the planet similar to the major acupuncture points of the human body. So we have these key points around the Earth. If you overlay the dodecahedron and the icosahedron over the Earth, you'll get these 62 points, major points in the Earth that are part of the natural time warps.
So you could say these are special places on the Earth. These are special areas of concentrated energy, if you like, or power centers, power plugs, to tap into that divine light that comes through from the other side. So you often find that people travel to these areas to pray and to sing the names of God, and that's what we've been embarking on over the last few years.
And so if you notice in Key 105, we have Overself Australia, one of those major artificial time warps. A lot of people get it confused with Beth Hagen's grid of grid point 44 or other things, but what we're trying to show here is not necessarily that. There may be a correlation in the area, but grid point 44 is not the artificial time warp. It's one of the minor natural time warp zones. But it doesn't mean it's not significant. And of course, where the major, or where this grid point 44 is in South Australia, is the Flinders Ranges, as well as the artificial time warp covers most of South Australia, all the lake regions.
Yeah, so we've got a slide on the Flinders Ranges just a sec, but I just wanted to show you that, you know, there are certain contemporary grid models, of course, with what's in the Keys of Enoch and with what Beth Hagens has produced, but we need to recognise that when we're talking about energy grids, we're talking about a natural phenomenon that is existing on the Earth and has been recognised by Indigenous people, not just in Australia, but around the world. So we see in Aboriginal art certain depictions of energy lines and energy grids where they're often called songlines. So people would actually travel the land along these grids, along these songlines or energy currents, singing sacred names, certain sacred vibrations, and travelling to certain areas for gathering, for cultural meetings and ceremony and so forth. So we do see that ancient grid structure represented in the art as well.
So we see on the next slide here the Flinders Ranges, and so we're based in Adelaide. And here's grid point 44, which is of Beth Hagens' model. And so for many years now, for probably now 15 years almost, we've been travelling up to this region, investigating and understanding the cosmology, the geology, and the history of the land from the many different components, seven different levels so that we can understand. And the ochre that many of the indigenous cultures come to. So this, you can see here, Ken and I standing by someone who put on one of the little signs, as you can see the grid signs, but put a little 44. No, it's got some people in outrage over there. But
where does the actual word 44 come from?
Well, the grid point, as Beth Hagens has done, is made a cataloguing system. So what she did, she never seen the grid as necessarily about energy points. It was about how to bring or unify all different, you can say, countries, cosmology, stories, cultural significance as a world map. And so to use the grid as a way to show there is a unity. And so she's very much part of and studied with Buckminster Fuller, cosmology and synergistics ideas. So 44 is just the numbering. She put pyramid, the Giza pyramid is number 1 and then calculated the different numbers. And so in a sense, in Beth Hagens' mind, it's arbitrarily 44. But of course, we can actually see that from a higher perspective.
So I mean, that's an example of how we're working with one of the grid points here in Australia. I'm just going to skip over. We also see some certain sacred sites also associated with energy lines or grid lines, such as the one, I don't know if you can see it on this, there's a line that's going down this way, connecting up to grid point 44 up this way. And what we see quite close to that line is a stone circle arrangement, just like Stonehenge in England, except not as high. We see a circular arrangement of stones like we see here. But I guess the point of this is to show you that we have our own sacred sites in Australia connected to both ancient and contemporary grid systems, and we as active participants can go to these sites and activate them. You just need to know that they're there, and you need to know what to do when you get there.
So, and what's unique, this stone circle has been in the media in the last year. This could be what archaeologists believe the oldest Stonehenge arrangement in the world. Some of them believe that it may go as far as 40,000 or 30,000 years old. We went out to meet some of the elders who took us to the site and showed us the arrangement of the stones. And Ken can point out here these 3 points, or 3 major stones, how they're aligned to the mountains in the background. And so they actually arrange these stones so you can actually line them to the mountains in the foreground. And so this could be one of the oldest Stonehenge, and so not many people know, and of course it's on private property, so you can't really get to it. But it's something that astronomers have been looking at because they actually notice there are certain key alignments, especially with these 3 stones. So these are just quick pictures. Ken and I have had the blessed opportunity to travel to many of the sacred sites. This is, of course, in Tikal and in Chichen Itza in Mexico. And also in the next slide, this is also our journey to Tonga. And so this is, again, like one of the gateways. This was used to calculate different astronomical timings of solstice and equinox and the sunrises. And also where I'm sitting on, in that picture, is these pyramids. There are pyramidal step structures or stone structures throughout the region of Tonga. And they're quite overgrown and not many people know about it. And we had a bit of trouble finding them because the locals don't really take any notice of them. So we had to wander. But these are very significant, and we actually are curious to get other archaeologists to be more interested in what are these stone structures out in the middle of Tonga.
So I guess that's part of our plea today, is to put a call out there. If anyone wants to work with us, we're really interested in collaborating and getting to know, establishing these networks of understanding, of working together to bring a high understanding of these sacred sites.
And so our latest journey was to Angkor Wat. And part of our work we're doing with collaboration with the Academy for Future Science is going to each of the key sacred points, as is mentioned in the Overself book, and to document them, to videotape, and to some way show others the key significance of these places. And the alignments and other interesting information. So we actually got a small trailer. This is not the full documentary we're making, but just something to give some visual, meditative snippets of what we've seen.
Yeah, so the project is to produce a documentary that explains what we call the high significance of the temples of Angkor Wat. So, like we just heard in the previous slides, exactly what it means, the turning of the Sea of Milk and the other bas reliefs that we see depicted in the temples, and also the sacred geometry that we see in Angkor Wat and Phnom Penh as well, as they align to various stellar alignments, such as Alpha Draconis. But before we show the video, I'll just mention one more slide that relates to our vision, and that is working with the Divine Family. And we see here our Amish Shaddai of the Adelaide group standing on the top of the, I think it's Mount Olsen Bike in the Flinders Ranges. So here we are working together through the Cosmic Christ, recognising that divinity through the Cosmic Christ, working together in our sacred work and our sacred pilgrimages to our local grid point, but also the greater grid network of understanding as well. What we say is that this higher knowledge requires people fortunate and humble enough to realise that the planet needs help and to actively go to these places in prayer and devotion and working with the divine. In closing, I'd say that we need to be more pluralistic and not ego-centered. So that this is where we all come together and we send our invitation to you and everyone else in the Keys and Academy family to work with us as we go to these sacred areas and try to gain a better and higher understanding of what they mean.